Hi everyone and welcome to Club 5 episode 17 of Rolling in the Isles, an FM22 British Isles Journeyman series with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So, since you and I were together last with Watford in the Premier League, it's taken a turn for the worse, unfortunately. We've had a group of about 8 matches, 3 of which we lost in a row. Some big teams, the likes of Chelsea, came and caused us problems. We also lost a couple of games which maybe we shouldn't have. It's just dropped us down from about 4th position that we were in last time out to 9th position currently. We're still in contention with the teams above us. Got to turn it around though, really, and get some points back on the board through the next few games. Today, going to be a tricky one. Couple of players that are just out through match sharpness, and we play Manchester City. So let's see how we get on. Welcome back to Watford. So let's get this straight really quickly. I'm really happy with where we are overall. 9th position. If we finish there this season, I'll be delighted by that. We're trying to get a top half finish if at all possible. But considering we were 4th about half a dozen matches ago, to find ourselves down in 9th, something has gone wrong slightly. 2 things. 1, we played some very tricky games and some of them, were inevitable that we were going to kind of lose them. And 2, we played some slightly easier games and still didn't necessarily get the results that we were looking for. If we go straight into the schedule, you'll see that the last time out you and I were together was Aston Villa at the top of the page there. We lost 2-1. We followed that up with another away loss, and away losses are a bit of a theme going on this particular stretch. We played West Ham, lost 2-1 again. We got a home win against Brighton, which was really, really important for us. Then a couple of back-to-back losses again away from home. One against Man United, one against Chelsea. So a couple of top 6 teams really showing that they are a little bit ahead of where we are currently. And then we played Wolves. Wolves are down in about 14th position just at the moment, and we really struggled with them, to be honest, and they comfortably beat us 4-2. And that was the real kicker of this particular run of bad form, unfortunately, at home, to lose to a team that are below us in the league and struggling a little bit was very disappointing. It had a little bit of a knock-on effect, those 3 losses in a row, though. We struggled against Southampton, got a 0-0 draw. But then we turned it around a little bit against Brentford, and it's those Brentford and Brighton results that have really helped us over the last sort of half dozen matches, because without those 2 wins, we'd be really struggling at this point. So it has hopefully put some of this bad form to rest, and we can begin to move forward a little bit. We've got Man City today. They've just dropped off the pace a little bit, although they've got a game or 2 in hand over the teams around them, so that might explain that a bit. We've got some good games coming up in January, and of course the January transfer window to think about. Liverpool, Leicester, Derby, Brentford again, and then Exeter in the cup competition, the FA Cup competition as well. Hopefully against Exeter we can rotate the entire 11. For today, it's a little bit of a free hit against Man City. They are sitting down in 5th position, at the moment, but they do have a game or 2 in hand over the teams above them. So it's a little bit of a free hit. What I would say also for today is that we've got some very jaded players after that run of form, trying to find a way to change it. I dug in on the first team and really tried to find a way to keep the consistency in the team, trying to break that run of poor form. It's left them a little bit jaded, if I'm totally honest. So about half of our first team 11 are going to be out of today's starting lineup just for conditioning reasons, really. And we'll just have to see how we cope against Man City. Who knows? I mean, we could show up and make it hard for them. I expect them probably to beat us, but it is a little bit of a free hit. So there we go. That's the situation. I am really happy with where we are at the moment. If we can keep in the top 10, I'll be delighted. But of course, now we've got to arrest some of that poor performances and poor form and try and get a few more points on the board just to stabilise ourselves a little bit. Because whilst we're connected to the teams above us, points-wise, we're also quite badly connected to about 4 or 5 clubs below us as well that could all cause us a problem if we don't play better. So here we go. Let's see how we get on against Manchester City. So there's just a couple of things that we need to talk about before we get into the actual game for today. One is you can see as we go through the substitute bench and off the substitute bench, there's a couple of injuries in there. There's some very jaded players in there in that sense. The only player that we're really putting into our starting lineup that's got the same sort of issues that we need to play today is Fernandez, our left winger, because our other left winger, George, has got a little bit of an injury. He's out for the next day or so. He's on the bench should we really need him, but I kind of hope that we don't have to use him today. Other than that, you can see there's some jaded players across the substitute bench. Unfortunately, they've had to play a lot recently. The other thing that we need to talk about is that because we were trying to dig in, should I say, on that starting lineup and try and break that poor run of results a little bit, is that the rotation of players hasn't happened quite as much recently, and some of them are a little bit unhappy about that. You can see a few players asking to leave, a few players unhappy. We'll have to deal with that through the January window a little bit and appease them with some rotation at the moments that we can. And to a point, today is one of those days where, because it's a free hit, it's worth us putting a few of them in and just seeing if we can get a couple of them to be slightly less unhappy than they are moving forward. And we'll see how that works. But for now, we go in today's match against Manchester City with the team of Bursic in goal, Ramsey at right back, Rodrigo and Omobamidele in central defence, Kamara in the holding midfield role with Fowler on the left wing back role, Mosquera and Milicio make up the rest of the central midfield with Hulse on the right, Fernandez on the left and Scala up top, and a whole bunch of players on the bench ready to make an impact should we need them. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So, as we've mentioned that this is a bit of a free hit, I've taken that into the team talk as well, to be honest. No gesture particularly, not in the faces of the team at all. And we're just going to say, have fun, enjoy the match today and see what happens. I mean, it could go either way. It could relax them too much and cause us to not be up for the game properly, or it might just give them the freedom to perform in a way that maybe they wouldn't usually against a team like Manchester City. I mean, let's make no bones about it. Man City are a very good side. They've got the likes of Erling Haaland up front, which is always a bit of an issue. So we'll see how we get on. But it is a completely free hit. If we get beaten, we're expected to. If we get anything from the game, it's a bonus. I just would kind of like us to be able to compete and play it well enough to cause them a few issues along the way and just give them something to think about here and there, rather than just roll over and let them win. So we'll see how we get on. But so far, it's a Man City highlight at 7 minutes. They've kept the ball for a good few seconds here, and they are just patiently waiting for their build-up. And Foden, there you go. There's the run for Haaland over the top. It's lethal, isn't it? Absolutely lethal. Foden dinks the ball from quite a distance over the defence, and Haaland makes the run off the back of them. Now, if he kept his run, which I suspect he did, it was possibly close, but it's a very good run from him, and he rounds the goalkeeper and puts it in the back of the net with no major hassles at all for him. And it is no problem with the offside trap, so they do go 1-0 up. Slightly disappointing that the defenders aren't able to properly cope with the runs like that and just follow their marker, the players that they're marking, etc. But I think there is a little bit of a weakness in how the defence of teams works in Football Manager just at the moment. Let me know what your experiences are in the comments below, whether you feel that as well, whether the attacking prowess of players is a little bit too overpowered in general compared to the ability of defenders to cope with them. Now, obviously, some of my defenders are not comparatively as good as Haaland is in terms of his attacking prowess, so he'll always have a little bit of an edge. But just sometimes I feel like that the defence doesn't quite work in the way that it should do. Let me know what you think. Anyway, we've managed to survive a few minutes on top of the goal happening and sort of bed ourselves in the game a little bit. We've actually got a highlight working for us down the right-hand side, but Man City win it. And again, lots of gaps at the back for Haaland just to go and stand in. That's a little bit of a problem. I'm wondering whether we actually pause the game for a moment. If we go back into our tactics page and we go... Oh, no, that's not actually what I want to do. Let's cancel that for a second. What I want to do is I want to go and see Man City's team. We're going to roll the highlight on, get to the past the corner kick, and then once we get back onto the information page, then we'll pause it. There's a reason I want to when we get there. So let's just see how this goes. We're counter-attacking down the left-hand side from a good clearance from the corner kick, but in the end, it goes back to Man City's goalkeeper, and the highlight doesn't stop, unfortunately. They come back at us, and they're working an opportunity down the right-hand side for themselves. Can the defence follow the runners? They can't. And again, Ansu Fati gets in this time and just hooks the ball in. It's just that central defensive partnership. Now, obviously, as I say, they are struggling immensely. So what we're going to do, please let the game go by so I can make a change. Come on, there we go. There's the offside decision. We'll skip it. It wasn't. It was very close. So what I'm looking for is which side Haaland and Fati play on. So Fati is playing on their left. Haaland is playing on their right. We're going to actually ask specifically our central defenders to man mark them and see if that helps. So if we go to Bamadele on this right-hand side for us, he's going to be man marking their left striker. So if we go into the edit and go down to mark specific position and find their left-sided central striker. And then we go to the other side with Rodrigo, go to the same edit, go into his spot and go and get him to do the right-sided striker. Just let's see if we can find a way to get them to pay more attention to what's going on there. Let's see what happens with that one. So hopefully that might do something just to stop the ease in which those two strikers are just dropping off of our two central defenders. We'll see. That hasn't been instigated yet. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner. If that was if that had happened, then we wouldn't have the message down there. Now that we've got our options back down in the left-hand corner, then now that change has happened. So we'll have to watch and see what happens with those two central defenders and whether they can cope better with the two strikers. And that just hopefully will... Well, that's a surprise. Okay, down the left-hand side, we worked the ball very nicely to their byline, just dropped it back slightly, got a cross in. So it's foul on down on this left-hand side, who does well, holds the play up very nicely, then drops it in for our left winger to get the cross in right-footed, and he does brilliantly well. And Malicio, playing in the shadow striker role today, behind the striker, gets on the end of it with a really good header and puts it in the back of the net for 1-1. Because their second goal was disallowed from offside. We're back in the game. And actually, if we look at the statistics for the match, you can see that possession-wise, Man City have dominated. You'd expect them to do that. They've also got a huge XG advantage over us. But 10 shots at goal for them, 7 for us. Not too bad. They've had 4 on target. We've had 3. So there are some positives in there. If we can just find a way to suppress their strikers a little bit, then maybe there is something for us in this game that is slightly unexpected. Let's see. So let's go into the dressing room. Actually, because of that goal, we can kind of go, you're doing well, keep up the hard work until full time. Not too bad at all. And we're just going to go and check out some of our players. There's a couple that I'm slightly concerned about that have got, the jaded conditioning that some of the other team members have had that meant that they were out of the team today. So the likes of Bamadele, Mosquera and Fernandez are the 3 that I'm thinking we might have to replace as the game progresses and just get some freshness into the team a little bit. But let's get back into this second half and just see if we can find a way to hold on and hold them out for much of this second half and cause them a few issues if we can. So again, it's Man City with the highlight a few minutes into the second half. But it goes back to our goalkeeper. He clears it into midfield and Man City win it, unfortunately. That's just one of those moments where a little bit of composure on the ball from the goalkeeper would have helped us immensely at that point. Didn't quite get it. They had a chance that went close off that near post, but somehow we survived it. Back in again a few minutes later for another Man City highlight there. Still coming at us. We win the ball back though. Holsar, right midfielder, gets inside a little bit. And that is an absolute sitter that we needed to score. Scarlett, who's been brilliant this season, had one chance potentially all this game so far. and he didn't quite manage it. It was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, took it slightly wide of the keeper, gave himself a chance, and then did not put the ball in the back of the net. Unfortunately, it went narrowly wide, and Man City are coming back at us again, and they hit the post on this occasion, where it seemed like it was easier for Haaland to put it in the back of the net, if I'm totally honest. So chances are going missing here, which is disappointing. There's another highlight. Let's just play this one through before we make some of those changes. We win the ball back again in midfield. I'm getting a little bit more competitive in midfield, but we also then gave it away and put it to Haaland as well. Goalkeeper redeemed himself from a couple of errors earlier in the game where he didn't quite look at his best and manages to get it out for a corner kick. Corner comes in, header goes over the top, and we survive another one. Approaching 70 minutes, we're going to pause the game there, go and make a couple of personnel changes, and it is those three players that we're going to take off. So Omar Bamadeli comes out, Gutierrez goes in that central defensive role, Mosquera comes out, and we are going to put Gyabi in instead of him in that central midfield role. And then we've got Fernandes on the left-hand side. I didn't really want to use Felipe George because he's injured. What I'm actually going to do is put Soto in there. Soto is more of a striking option than anything, but can play in that attacking midfield kind of role as well. And I just want him to play off that left-hand side. And if we can get him in on the inside forward, it doesn't look like he can do much from there, but he's got good striking options and other bits and pieces like that. So hopefully, if we can get him a chance from that left-hand side, he might be clinical in taking it. We'll see. A bit of a gamble, that one, but, you know, who knows what will pay off. We get a corner kick. They partially clear it. We win the ball back in midfield. That is a superb strike by Kamara, our holding midfielder, but it clatters off the crossbar, and then Man City get the ball clear. We are basically doing what I wanted us to do, with the proviso that we've got 15 minutes left and Man City can still do us in. We're competing. We're creating a few chances. We're causing a few issues. We're being competitive in midfield. And then occasionally like that, they break us down a little bit, have a good shot at goal. It hits the woodwork for them as well. And we boot it clear after that one. But we are doing okay. We're roughly up with them in terms of the amount of shots created. Their possession stats are always going to be better. Their style of play is very different to ours. And they're running off our defenders still very nicely for them and getting some good shots at goal. I'm not sure. Is there an offside decision there? Probably not. Oh, I think it might have been, actually. My first instinct was that it was offside, but I don't dare to wish for these things. Oh, it's been awarded. That's disappointing. 81 minutes on the clock. The cross comes in, and let's see what happens when the ball goes through there. It was a tight one, wasn't it? It was really close, but I suspect he was probably about level. And obviously he was, because there's not even a VAR lines come up. So unfortunately, it looks like we might go down to a hard-working Man City win. Again, they win the ball back with 3 minutes to go. We're not going to change much. I think this is the best way that we can play to potentially get anything out of this particular game. But Man City are very good. And they keep the ball really very, very nicely. And they're doing that here with 3 minutes to go. They're holding on to possession, working down the right-hand side. There's the ball over the top again for a striker to get through. And again, they break that central defensive line. This time it's Luka who gets through. And they're just quicker of thought and movement than our central defenders. Watch this space down here at the bottom of the screen if you can. Watch Luka run off the back of Kamara, the holding midfielder, who just didn't follow the run all the way through, unfortunately. And he gets on the end of it first. Slightly disappointing, that one. But I hope that we don't get another one conceded here with another highlight at 89 minutes. I think that would be a little bit unfair. I think we've been fairly good and fairly competitive as foul on fouls on the edge of the box. Was it inside or out? I think it was on the line. It could go either way, this one. But it was a silly challenge, really. He should have stayed on his feet and just keep pushing the player out. Fortunate, it was just outside the penalty area. It was very close. But they're going to get a free kick on that far side instead. Free kick comes in straight down the sights of the goalkeeper, fortunately. And he can hold on to the ball for us. 3-1, I would have been okay with 2-1. I thought 3-1 was a little bit unfortunate. But having said that, we really didn't cope with them defensively at all well, did we? Really? And unfortunately, we had to take a couple of our better performing players out of the lineup for the second half of that second half, just through fitness issues. We need to rotate this team a little bit over the next few matches just to get the fitness back into the whole squad. So it was unfortunate. I'm not going to dig them out for the performance particularly. It was a bit of a free hit, as we said. Just a little bit of a challenge. But do let me know what you think about the defensive side of Football Manager in the comments below. It feels really hard for me. Now, what I would say, I'm sure plenty of you will say it's because you were playing a half-back and he was dropping in and the central defenders were being pushed wide, and so they weren't as narrow as they needed to be, and there were spaces because of that and the block. I understand all of that. Just in general terms, what is your thought about defensive intelligence, I would suggest? The quickness of thought for central defenders to cope with strikers' movements. I don't think it's that great at the moment. Let me know what you think. Right, okay, so let's go with hands in the pockets. Proud of your efforts. Wasn't our day today. Fair enough. We'll just let them have that one. And we'll move on from it. A couple of tricky games coming up. Leicester and Liverpool, I think it was. I think if I remember rightly, that's going to be tricky to get a break in our slightly poor run of performances, let's say. We do hold our position in 9th position, but the vultures are circling around us just a little bit. So let's see what we're going to come back for in the next episode. It's going to be after the January transfer window. I've got the next few weeks to figure out whether there's any movements I can make, whether anybody has to leave the club for any particular reason, whether we can bring anybody in. At the moment, if nobody leaves, I'm happy with that and I would keep this squad together. It's just about whether that happens. There's a couple of other unhappy players, etc. So let's get into the fixture list. Let's go check out what the first game of February is going to be. West Brom away from home. Not a bad team for us to come and play. And actually, after the Leicester-Liverpool matches, to play Exeter in the Cup, then Derby, Brentford, West Brom, Burnley, Southampton. That's not a bad run of teams for us to play to try and break this run of form. If we could get maybe 8 to 10 points out of those type of games, I think that wouldn't be too bad. Let's see how we get on with that one. But that's going to do it for today. A really disappointing result in a lot of ways, but ultimately not totally unexpected. And we keep marching forward. It's going to be a challenging January to see if I can improve this squad. I'm going to try and see what happens. So come back next episode. I'll update you on all of that. We'll play that game against West Brom and I'll catch you up on the recent results as well. But that's going to do it for today. So thank you for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That will help me get seen by more people. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.